What is good, NFL fans? Welcome back to Triple Play Sports Talk, the home of all the latest NFL news and content. In post-NFL draft breakdown, today's video we're going to try to answer the question, are the Arizona Cardinals making all the right moves in free agency and post-draft signings? From building a competitive O-line to bolstering the defensive line and even securing much-needed wide receiver reinforcement, every move counts. But which signings are truly brilliant, mid-level, or downright intriguing? These rankings will be based on each team's respective expectations for the upcoming 2024 season. Free agency/draft moves will be deemed brilliant, mid, or interesting based on the following meanings. Brilliant equals moves the team in the right direction, mid equals neither helps or hinders, and intriguing equals just questionable. Now that we're prepared for this NFL series, let's get into the Arizona Cardinals. If you guys are new to Triple Play Sports Talk or enjoyed our last video here, do me a huge favor and make sure you hit that subscribe button and also hit that like button if you enjoyed today's video. Also, feel free to comment down below your grades for these free agency moves. So now let's get into one of the bigger needs the Cardinals had at the start of this offseason, O-line depth. Specifically, the Cardinals' pass blocking needs to be addressed along the left side of the line. Last season, the Cardinals excelled in their run blocking scheme to the point they ended up with the 4th ranked rushing attack, but managed to be below average pass blocking wise. This was mainly due to a lot of injuries and subpar guard play along the left side of the line. The Cardinals started a full rebuild at the start of the 2023 offseason in hopes to build a winning contender for the long run. They have the start of some potential building blocks along the O-line in Paris Johnson, Kelvin Beckham, Yilda Froholt, and Will Hernandez, but they definitely will need to add more impactful players through free agency and the draft in order to keep opposing defenses off of Kyler Murray. The Cardinals hit the ground running with addressing needs along the left side of the line by releasing starting left tackle DJ Humphries on March 20th to start off free agency due to his upcoming year-long recovery from an ACL tear he suffered against the Philadelphia Eagles on New Year's Eve. They retroactively decided on moving their 2023 starting right tackle Paris Johnson Jr. over to the left tackle position. This opened the door for the signing of former Bengals lineman Jonah Williams for a 2 years, $30 million deal. In totality, the release of DJ, the move of Johnson to the left tackle, and the signing of Williams can definitely be categorized as a brilliant move because the release of DJ allows the Cardinals the flexibility to invest in an immediate starting caliber tackle that can be impactful now and in the future. The move of Johnson to his natural left tackle position immediately secures the blind side of Kyler Murray for the foreseeable future after coming off a strong rookie season. Williams has proven to be durable and competent swing tackle during his time with the Cincinnati Bengals since he suffered a knee injury back in 2020. He provides the rare versatility to effectively play both tackle positions, and at the age of 26 years old, he aligns with the rebuild timeline for the Cardinals. To follow up these moves, the Cardinals went on to re-sign/sign some veteran depth pieces in Evan Brown, Elijah Wilkerson, Tristan Colin, and Keith Ishmael. These moves in totality should be categorized as mid because they are serviceable depth pieces that can help maintain some form of stability along the line in the short term. They aren't going to elevate or secure you a long-term solution at the left guard position. Elijah and Tristan were part of the season-long rotation at left guard, and as previously noted, it was one of the weak links of the unit in terms of pass blocking. With the need to fully address this position this offseason, elite options were not only far and few in between in free agency, but also in this year's draft. Great developmental pieces were at an influx this year, and the Cardinals had plenty of opportunities to address this need with at least one of their 11 picks this year. The Cardinals GM waited until the 3rd round and picked number 71 to draft a guard out of the University of Illinois by the name of Isaiah Adams. This pick is the definition of interesting because it does not immediately address their needs for a starting caliber left guard in today's league. Adam possesses the physicality to eventually be a dominant pass and run blocker due to quickness, athleticism, and armament that can keep defenders at bay. He just needs time to develop his skill set in terms of technique and understand his assignments within the Cardinals' blocking scheme. If he manages to put everything together, he can be an invaluable piece along this line. On the other hand, if he fails to develop schematically or technique-wise, he will be a prime cut candidate in a few years, but we'll see. Next, let's talk about the many moves the Cardinals have made in terms of the defensive trenches over this offseason. The Cardinals needed to go heavy with revamping that side of the ball after accumulating only 33 sacks in 17 games, along with giving up a league-worst 143.2 rushing yards per game to go along with allowing 19 rushing touchdowns. So the Cardinals desperately needed to hit the ground running this offseason by signing some impactful veteran depth pieces, as well as discover some pass rushing gems in this year's draft. They kicked things off by re-signing one of their season opener starters in D lineman LJ Collier on March 8th to a one-year deal. LJ was brought in last season as a flyer from the Seattle Seahawks in an effort to change the narrative on his underwhelming stint in Seattle. LJ managed to only accumulate 26 solo tackles, 3 sacks, and 45 games played in Seattle. Those sacks all come in the 2020 season, which to date is his best NFL season. He showed enough great promise of a resurgence to the skill set he possessed out of college that made him a first-round pick out of TCU back in 2019 that he cracked the rotation during the season opener versus Washington. He suffered a bicep injury that unfortunately cut his season short before it even fully began. In terms of projected role within the defense, he will primarily play DN in the Cardinals' 4-3 scheme, but will be more of a backup depth piece until he consistently puts together impactful plays. So as of now, I would deem this move as mid because he doesn't necessarily make the unit better in his current iteration, but he can also be considered a quality backup for now. Next, the Cardinals continue to address the D-line by officially signing a set of defensive tackles that can be considered high-end talent. The Cardinals managed to sign former Chicago Bear Justin Jones to a 3-year, $31 million deal and former Raider Bilal Nichols to a 3-year, $21 million deal. These were both brilliant moves on the part of the Cardinals because they addressed both pass and run defensive inefficiencies they suffered last season by bringing in a disruptive force like Justin Jones, who tallied 49 tackles with 4.5 sacks from the defensive tackle position last season. He definitely has all the physical tools at 6'3", 309 pounds to lead this defense from being at the bottom of the league in terms of run defense. Nichols also brings a level of versatility that will bolster the Cardinals' overall defense while also falling in line with their youth movement. At the age of 27 years old, Nichols has amassed a pretty productive career in his 4 seasons with the Bears, 2 seasons with the Raiders, where he has tallied 238 total tackles, 14 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 1 interception in 94 games played, all from the defensive tackle position. He has managed to remain relatively healthy throughout his career, missing out on 5 games total throughout his career. Nichols is hitting his stride, and the Cardinals definitely signed him at the right time, and he will be a factor along the starting unit. Following these moves, the Cardinals still need to add additional depth pieces on this line as well as bring in some effective pass rushers to elevate this unit. They took a step forward in this mission by signing former Minnesota Viking Khyiris Tonga a day after the Justin and Bilal signings. At face value, Tonga can be viewed as a young depth piece at defensive tackle after obtaining 67 total tackles, 3 for loss, half a sack, and 4 passes defended over the 3 seasons he played so far in the league. One can surmise that he fell out of favor for more productive players with the Vikings as his playing time slowly decreased season after season. He has clearly shown that he can be productive in short stints, but it's unclear whether or not he has already reached the peak of the type of player he can be based on his track record up until this season. So therefore, we can label this move as interesting based on his previous production and the uncertainty that surrounds his future contributions to the Cardinal defense. For now, the Tonga signing ended the Cardinals' efforts to address the defensive line through free agency, and then they set their sights to addressing further needs through the draft. Moving on to the picks the Cardinals made during the 2024 NFL Draft, they double-dipped on finding productive edge rushers that can translate the things that made them successful in college and translate those successes at the next level. The Cardinals didn't wait too long in the draft to go after such a player. They utilized their second first-round draft pick to draft former University of Missouri defensive end Darius Robinson. Darius can be characterized as a game disruptor that has plenty of room to grow his game from a technique perspective, as well as someone who earned an All-SEC first-team honors in his final season at Missouri. He is credited with 111 total tackles, 21 for loss, 13 sacks, 1 pass breakup, 1 forced fumble, and 1 fumble recovery over 47 games from 2019 to 2023. So during his limited starts over the years, he managed to make a significant impact in the run game and has shown the physical tools to be a disruptive DN at the next level. The main knock many commentators have in regards to Darius is that he is raw in terms of being technically sound, as well as needs to develop an eye for play recognition that will require some coaching up. Well, he fell in the perfect situation because the Cardinals won't require him to be an every down impact player that he could end up being, but just a spot contributor throughout this season. This is a role he can flourish in until he can successfully develop those other aspects of his game. Next, the Cardinals waited until the 5th round and 138th pick to add onto their youth movement along the defensive line by drafting former Clemson defensive end Xavier Thomas. Xavier can be categorized as an explosive pass rusher who has a great ability to get to the QB or effect passing downs throughout his 6-year college career. He also can be categorized as a resilient individual on and off the field, battling depression at a point in his career. He was able to make an impact on Clemson's defense on day one of his freshman season, and you can expect him to provide some value on this Cardinals defense starting day one as well. He has all the tools to be an effective spot rusher as well as a roaming defender in pass coverage early on. During his Clemson career, he is credited with 121 total tackles, 34 for loss, 17.5 sacks, 7 pass breakups, 6 forced fumbles over 61 games. He started 30 of them from 2018 to 2023. So drafting Xavier and Darius to this Cardinals defense can be considered a brilliant move because it's addressing a big need for productive pass rushers that can be effective now and can also be developed into greater long-term contributors for the future. They both fit the bill in this regard, but they aren't great run defenders at this stage in their development, but have the physical tools to become impactful at some point in their career. The many moves needed to be made along the D-line, specifically players that can improve the run and pass defense, were the Cardinals' biggest needs, and now they have a few veterans who fit the bill along with a few experienced veterans/rookies that can address the additional pass rushing needs. This may translate to the Cardinals' defense rebounding this season, but we shall see soon in the coming months. Sticking with the defensive side of the ball, the Cardinals sorely needed to address the back end of their defense, specifically the cornerback position. Even though last season the Cardinals ranked 13th in terms of pass defense, they allowed an average of 213 yards passing per game and 32 touchdowns last season, which was 4th most in the league. A lot of the weight of the secondary was placed upon safeties Budda Baker and Jalen Thompson's shoulders last season, and they held up their end of the defense for the most part. The cornerback position was lackluster in terms of play from veteran corners like Antonio Hamilton. The one rookie standout from the unit named Garrett Williams only played half of the season after recovering from a prior tearing of his ACL. Williams is scheduled to man one of the starting cornerback positions, with other players like Catrell Clark and Sterling Thomas being in the mix for some playing time and re-signing Bobby Price to be a contributor on special teams. So prior to the start of the offseason, it was clear the Cardinals needed to make some improvements and find another clear-cut starter. They did just that by immediately parting ways with Antonio Hamilton and signing a top-end talent like Sean Murphy-Bunting to a 3-year deal worth $25.5 million. This was a brilliant move on the Cardinals' part because they brought in a player that can make an immediate impact on the current young players already present by helping with their development as well as being a dependable corner for this defense. The only drawback for this move is Sean's injury history because he hasn't managed to complete a full season since 2020, but he's still young. He turns 27 before the season starts, and the deal he signed is great value for the Cardinals and is movable if they don't receive the return they initially believed they would in the future. Following the signing of Sean, the Cardinals slowed their efforts to address this position through free agency and continue to commit to building this team through an influx of younger players while focusing their attention on the NFL draft. The Cardinals chose to use 4 of their 11 available picks on defensive backs to add to an initially thin room. They kicked things off by utilizing the 2nd round, number 43 pick they got from the Atlanta Falcons to draft former Rutgers DB Max Melton. Max can be characterized as a speedy sub 4'3" corner that has the frame as well as fluidity in his game to be a contributor as a nickel corner. He has plenty of room to grow his game from technique perspective, but in his current iteration he can be deemed as a ball hawk. During his 4 years at Rutgers, he is credited with 114 total tackles, 9 for loss, 8 interceptions, 30 pass breakups, 1 forced fumble, and 4 fumble recoveries over 43 games from 2020 to 2023. Based on the immediate and future needs of this defense, drafting Max can be deemed as a brilliant move because he can help shore up their current depth disparity at corner, but also be developed into a potential starter long term. Although the Cardinals passed on a number of potential higher caliber cornerback prospects, drafting Max was not a reach and puts the Cardinals in a good position for the future. Next, the Cardinals made the move to draft what I may consider an absolute steal by picking in a 3rd round pick number 90, former DB out of Boston College, Elijah Jones. In terms of an outside corner, Elijah checks off a lot of the boxes one would want in traits of a disruptive corner. He has the speed as well as size at 6'2" to run with most XY receivers on the outside, the athleticism to attack receivers at the line, as well as disrupt passes thrown and the ball hawk skills to capitalize on those disruptions to turn them into interceptions. These abilities were on full display during his career at Boston College, where he was credited with 156 total tackles, 4 for loss, 7 interceptions, 43 pass breakups, and 2 forced fumbles over 60 games from 2018 to 2023. Drafting Elijah presents the same benefits as Max Melton pick in terms of growth potential and depth pieces at the position, which therefore makes this pick a brilliant move. Drafting Elijah was definitely not a reach, and the minor technical issues in terms of the way he comes out of his back pedal that causes him to be slower transitioning to the point of attack is a simple fix for this coaching staff. Based on these first 2 picks, the Cardinals are for sure on their way to turn this unit around, but they weren't satisfied just yet and chose to dive into the DB pool once again by using their number 104 pick during the 4th round to select former Texas Tech safety Dadrian Taylor-Demerson. This move can be quickly deemed brilliant because one aspect of players that the Cardinals head coach Jonathan Gannon desires is for his players to be versatile, and that's exactly what Dadrian is. While at Texas Tech, Dadrian was asked to play multiple DP positions throughout his time there, and he excelled as a slot corner and safety. He capitalized on a number of opportunities he had by producing 224 total tackles, 8.5 for loss, 10 interceptions, 33 pass breakups, 2 forced fumbles over 50 games from 2019 to 2023. Dadrian will likely see some playtime at safety as the backup free safety behind Budda Baker, as well as time on special teams this season. In the future, he may likely become the starter once the Cardinals choose to move on from Baker at some point. Lastly, the Cardinals used their final pick at 226 during the 7th round to select former Miami DB Jaden Davis. Jaden can be characterized as a quick-footed nickel corner with the fluidity to keep up with most receivers with his 4.4 speed, but wasn't necessarily causing turnovers during his time at Oklahoma or Miami. This pick can be labeled as mid, and it largely has nothing to do with his abilities. I believe the Cardinals overindulged themselves in picking 4th DB in this draft to a really overcrowded DB room in its current iteration. Davis will likely only see the field during special teams for the most part unless a rash of injuries hit the secondary for a second season. Overall, the Cardinals managed to make some great decisions this offseason in terms of revamping the cornerback position and then addressing some of the biggest needs in terms of personnel that works for this defense. Don't be shocked if the Cardinals defense rebounds significantly this season, but like I always say, just wait and see. So up next on our list is the number of moves the Cardinals made in their efforts to revamp their wide receiver depth through mostly free agency signings after an underwhelming performance from the unit as a whole during the 2023 season as a result of injury. While most could rightly point to this unit's performance as a direct reflection of the injury bug that struck players like Marquise Brown from last season, it could heavily be implied that the unit was a patch job that lacked high-impactful players. At the start of the free agency period, the Cardinals lost Marquise Brown to the Kansas City Chiefs, and Rondale Moore was traded to the Falcons for Desmond Ridder. This led them to only have 4 wide receivers left on the roster: Andre Baselli, Dan Chisney, Greg Dortch, who was re-signed on a 1-year deal, Zach Pascal, and Michael Wilson. With the return of Kyler Murray to hopefully a full season of being healthy, the Cardinals are going to plan on throwing the ball a lot this season, and they need some capable receivers to add along the 3 great catching options they have on the roster at the moment: Michael Wilson, James Conner, and Trey McBride. They managed to accomplish that goal this offseason by signing a couple proven veterans that can be stamped as upgrades to the previous starters and backups. To start off free agency, following the loss of some key receivers last season and the signing of a couple of depth players, the Cardinals went out and grabbed one of their more dependable wide receiver options for the Jacksonville Jaguars in Zay Jones, and signed former Titans receiver Chris Moore to a 1-year deal. In totality, I'll mark these 2 significant additions as mid for one reason. They are reliable targets, but they won't give the teams a lot of advantages against defenses on a week-to-week basis. The addition of Zay Jones does provide the Cardinals the reliable and experienced number 3 wide receiver option, but it isn't a significant game changer. He is capable of being a reliable sideline-to-sideline receiver that works those intermediate areas of the field and gets you a first down at crucial points during the game. The addition of Moore provides the Cardinals with the speed and veteran leadership this wide receiver room definitely needs. His versatility allows him to stretch the field as an outside receiver, but also still be dynamic in the slot on occasions. Moving on to the picks the Cardinals made during the 2024 NFL Draft. The Cardinals didn't wait long to draft the one player they've been connected to since last season's draft, with the number 4 pick in the 2024 draft. They went out and grabbed former star Buckeye wideout Marvin Harrison Jr. This move can definitely be categorized as brilliant in the terms of immediate impact he will have on his team as a clear-cut number 1 option. Aside from the lineage he comes from, Marvin is an all-around threat that will draw double teams and shadowing from opposing safeties on a week-to-week basis. He is capable of elevating this defense in the way Julio Jones did when he first arrived with the Falcons back in the day. He comes into the league after dominating college football with 155 catches for 2,613 yards and 31 touchdowns over the course of 38 games he played from 2021 to 2023. So in totality, as it currently stands, I believe the Cardinals had achieved their goal of improving this unit, but they decided to add on to this group by utilizing a 6th-round pick on former UAB receiver Tajon Palmer and signed undrafted free agent Xavier Weaver from the University of Colorado. Both of these pickups can be regarded as interesting for the moment because they aren't expected to be contributors this season unless the Cardinals really get hit with injuries. But they both have the talent to be impact players for this team in the near future. They're able to continue an upward trajectory in their growth as players. The high mark for them in this season will be special team players, but most likely will be relegated to the practice squad before the start of the season. I don't believe the Cardinals will add any other receivers this offseason, or need to, because as currently constructed, their offense will be predicated on just getting the ball out to their playmakers and giving them room to operate, which is a dynamic they were surely lacking last season. So lastly, let's quickly categorize other subtle moves the Cardinals have made to bolster their roster, and believe me, they made some solid moves to shore up depth for a number of positions. The Cardinals started the free agency out needing to fill out the linebacker depth and find a player that can fill the weak side linebacker role alongside middle linebacker Kaiser White and strong side linebacker Dennis Gardeck. So they went out and signed former 5th-round pick of the Browns linebacker Mack Wilson Jr. He's a very versatile linebacker at a relatively shorter size at 6'1", 245 pounds, but he is very effective in rushing the passer, playing in zone coverage, and being an impactful run defender. They also managed to sign him to a 3-year, $12.75 million deal that works out to be a very team-friendly contract. For these reasons, this was a brilliant signing on the Cardinals' behalf because they improved multiple aspects of their defense with this signing. Finally, the Cardinals used one of their 4 third-round draft picks this year to pick up running back Trey Benson from Florida State, which in my opinion is a brilliant move due to his potential to develop into a real threat on offense as the primary backup to James Conner. His 905 yards rushing on 156 carries and 14 touchdowns from this past season show that he is definitely an explosive runner trending in the right direction, but time will tell how dynamic he can truly be in this offense. So that concludes our video, brilliant, mid, and interesting NFL free agency signings, Arizona Cardinals edition. We hope you enjoyed it, learned something new. If you did, please like, share, subscribe to our channel for more videos like this, and look out for us to continue this series for all the NFL teams this offseason. Also, let us know in the comments what you think of our rankings and if you have any suggestions for future topics. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.